They laughed, they mocked, they pointed fingers, they whispered behind backs and smiled in your face. They said you'd never be anything, that your dreams were too big, your ambition too loud, your hustle too small. But let me tell you something, their laughter doesn't define you. Their disbelief, their sarcasm, their doubts, none of that can determine your future unless you let it. You are not their opinion, you are not their limitation. What matters isn't what they said, it's how you responded. That moment when they laughed at you, when they tried to shrink you down, when they tried to bury your vision, that was the moment that revealed everything. Not about them, about you, about what's inside you, about your character, about your response. See, most people fold when they hear the laughter. Most people shrink back. Most people internalize the insult. Most people take their potential, crumple it up, and throw it in the trash because someone else couldn't see the vision, but not you. You weren't built to break. You weren't created to conform. You weren't born to be accepted. You were born to be exceptional. You were born to be doubted so that you could rise above the doubt. You were born to be laughed at so that your victory would be louder than their mockery. The way you respond in the face of disrespect determines everything. You have to learn to look at the laughter and let it light a fire under you. You've got to get to the place where their disrespect becomes your energy source. They laughed because they couldn't see what you saw. They laughed because they didn't have the courage to try what you were bold enough to chase. They laughed because their faith was small and their fear was big. They laughed because that's what people do when they see someone walking in purpose while they're still stuck in comfort. Don't take it personally. Take it as confirmation. Confirmation that you're moving in the right direction. Confirmation that your dream is bigger than their imagination. You don't get that kind of reaction unless you're on a different level. You don't get laughed at unless you're climbing somewhere they've never been. So when they laugh, thank them, because their laughter is proof that you've stepped outside the box they tried to keep you in. This isn't the time to shrink. This isn't the time to fold. This is the time to double down, work when they rest, train when they party, study when they sleep, grind when they scroll. You've got to get so locked in that the laugh track fades into silence. You've got to be so focused that even their mockery starts to sound like motivation. They don't know what's coming. They don't know the strength you've been building behind closed doors. They don't see the early mornings, the late nights, the silent sacrifices. They don't know how many times you've wanted to quit and didn't. They don't know how many tears you've cried in private just to smile in public. But you know, and that's enough. They laughed at the grind, but they won't laugh at the results. They laughed at the process, but they won't laugh at the product. They laughed at the struggle, but they won't laugh at the success. When you win, not if, but when the same mouths that laughed will be silent. Or they'll start quoting you. That's how it works. When you were broke, you were a joke. When you were hungry, they called you desperate. But when you feast, they'll call you genius. When you rise, they'll call it destiny. And they'll act like they always believed in you. Don't get caught up in that. Let them talk. Let them flip. Let them pretend. Your job is not to convince. Your job is to become. Every step you take in silence is a blow to their doubt. Every rep you push through in the gym, every hour you study, every deal you close, every obstacle you overcome, all of it is building a version of you that they never saw coming. You don't need validation. You don't need a round of applause. You don't need their approval. You need to keep moving, keep building, keep working. And when they see the finished product, when the same ones who laughed have no choice but to acknowledge your greatness, you won't even need to say anything. Your life will be the speech. Your success will be the response. Let your results speak in the language they understand. You don't need to talk louder. You need to move smarter. You need to lock in deeper. You need to focus harder. You need to transform that pain into power, that shame into shine, that mockery into mastery. The response isn't revenge. The response is results. The response is discipline. The response is next level execution. Let them laugh. Let them doubt. Let them dismiss. Because every moment they waste talking about you is a moment you're investing in building a life they could never dream of. They laughed at you, but you kept showing up. They laughed at you, but you kept improving. They laughed at you, but you stayed locked in. And the moment is coming, the moment when all that laughter turns into silence, when all that disrespect turns into admiration, when all those jokes turn into inspiration. They didn't see the work because they were too busy watching the noise. They were too distracted by the highlight reels, the clout chasers, the overnight success stories that never really had roots. They didn't understand what you were doing because what you were doing was happening in silence. See, in a world where everybody wants to post the grind, you chose to live the grind. You didn't need the applause. You didn't need the likes. You didn't need the blue check. You needed results, and that's the difference between them and you. They're loud in their ambition, but silent in their execution. You're silent in your ambition and loud in your results. That's why they laughed. That's why they doubted you, because they couldn't see the seeds you were planting while they were busy showing off empty gardens. Success is quiet work in a loud world. The real ones are too busy getting better to explain themselves, too focused on the vision to defend it, too obsessed with the mission to debate it. Let them talk. Let them question. Let them assume that ain't your business. Your business is discipline. Your business is repetition. Your business is grinding when no one's watching, sweating when no one's clapping, sacrificing when no one's thanking you. This is the part they'll never understand. Success doesn't scream. It whispers. It whispers in the dark when you choose reps over rest. It whispers when you hit the gym at 5 a.m. and leave when others are just waking up. It whispers when you eat the same meals, make the same sacrifices, follow the same routine, even when the results ain't showing up yet. Success is quiet, it's invisible before it becomes undeniable. And you know what's crazy? The world only starts paying attention when the work is done, not during, not in the middle, only when it's polished, profitable, powerful. That's when they want to act like they always believed in you. That's when they start asking how you did it, but they don't want the real answer, because the real answer ain't sexy. The real answer ain't flashy. The real answer is discipline over distraction. The real answer is patience over praise. The real answer is years of staying low, focused, and faithful to the process. So when they laugh, when they dismiss you, when they count you out, let them. That's how you know you're on the right path. If they could see it, it wouldn't be uncommon. If they could understand it, it wouldn't be legendary. Let me tell you something loud ain't powerful. Focus is powerful. Consistency is powerful. Ownership is powerful. You ain't got time to be loud when you're really building something that matters. People don't need to hear you talk about your grind. They need to feel your success when you walk in the room. There's a different kind of presence when someone's been through the fire. When someone's sacrificed everything, when someone's chosen purpose over popularity, that presence, that comes from the silence, from the solitude, from those moments nobody sees, from the years of being underestimated, overlooked, and doubted, and still putting in the work. Still showing up, still pushing when nobody's watching and no one's cheering. They posted about the journey, you walked it. They celebrated prematurely, you sacrificed privately, they chased attention. You chased purpose, that's why they're still in the same place, needing validation, and you're about to break through. But don't get it twisted. When the spotlight finally hits, they'll act like they always knew. They'll repost you, quote you, celebrate you, but you'll remember the silence. You'll remember the nights you wanted to quit. You'll remember how loud their laughter was and how quiet your hustle had to be. And that memory will keep you humble. That memory will keep you hungry. So stay quiet, stay grinding. Don't announce your next move. Don't post your pain. Don't explain your struggle. Just level up in silence. Build in silence. Work in silence. Master your craft in silence. Let them think you're losing while you're sharpening every weapon. Let them think you're done while you're becoming dangerous. Let them keep laughing while you keep building. Because when the time comes and the light finds you and the world sees what you've really been working on, they won't be able to ignore it. They won't be able to deny it. They won't be able to laugh anymore. And by then, you won't even need to say a word, because the quiet work always speaks loudest when it's done. They disrespected you, they doubted you, they looked you dead in the face and acted like you were nothing. Like your goals were a joke. Like your dream was too big for someone like you. They laughed not because you were weak, but because they couldn't handle the idea that someone like you would dare to try. Someone like you would dare to believe that someone like you, from where you're from, with your background, your mistakes, your past, would actually have the nerve to go for something greater. But let me tell you something. Disrespect is fuel. Let them laugh, let them doubt, let them disrespect you, but don't you ever let that break you. Too many people use disrespect as an excuse. They didn't believe in me. They didn't support me. They told me I couldn't. So what? They were never supposed to believe in you. That wasn't their job. It's your job to believe in you. It's your job to trust the vision. It's your job to put in the work that proves them wrong. You think successful people were handed belief. You think they started with applause. No, they started with people rolling their eyes. They started with people walking away from them. They started with people clowning them, ignoring their calls, doubting their efforts. And they didn't cry about it. They didn't whine. They didn't make excuses. They trained through it. They locked in. They got better. They used the disrespect as fuel, not a crutch. See, here's the truth most people won't tell you. If everybody believes in your dream from the start, it probably ain't big enough. If nobody's laughing, if nobody's questioning you, then you're still in your comfort zone. You're still playing safe. Real vision threatens people. Real ambition shakes the room. Real potential makes people uncomfortable, especially the ones who gave up on their own dreams. You remind them of what they never became. You remind them of what they settled for, so they attack you, not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to try. Don't shrink because they're uncomfortable. Don't back down because they can't see it. Use it. Use the hate. Use the rejection. Use the disrespect. Take every no and stack it up until it becomes your platform. Take every insult and turn it into inspiration. Take every moment they laughed and remember it when you're up at 4 a.m. putting in the work. Remember it when you're doing extra reps, reading extra pages, building the business when no one's watching. Every moment they doubted you is a deposit in your future. Every time they said you couldn't is another reason you will. You have two choices when they disrespect you. You can crumble or you can rise. You can let it break you or you can let it mold you. You can let it define you or you can let it refine you. Disrespect is not your end, it's your beginning. It's the spark, it's the fire, it's the moment when everything changes. Because when you decide to use disrespect as fuel, you become dangerous. You become focused. You become relentless. And that's when they start to fear you. Not because you're loud, not because you're flashy, but because you don't stop. You don't quit. You don't let the weight of opinions hold you down. You've got to get to the place where the disrespect doesn't distract you, it drives you. You've got to get so locked in that the people who laughed at you don't even exist anymore in your world. You've got to build your discipline like a shield. Build your focus like a weapon. Because when you stop caring what they think, you start becoming who you were born to be. And that's what scares them. They see your potential, even if they'll never admit it. They see your hunger, they see your grind, and deep down, they know if you keep going, it's only a matter of time before they can't ignore you. So don't try to clap back. Don't post about it. Don't argue. Don't explain. Let your work talk. Let your results talk. Let your growth speak for itself. The greatest revenge isn't proving them wrong. It's becoming so successful that they have no choice but to respect you. Even if they never say it, even if they never apologize, even if they never clap for you, you'll know, you'll feel it, you'll see it in their silence. They don't owe you anything, not support, not kindness, not belief. Let them laugh, let them hate, let them doubt. Your response is what will separate you from the rest. Your response will turn disrespect into drive. Your response will turn pain into power. Your response will turn every "you'll never make it" into "how did you do it?" They said I wouldn't make it. They said I was crazy. They said I was wasting my time, and then they laughed. They laughed because they thought I was out of my mind for believing in something they couldn't see. They laughed because they didn't know that my silence was strategy. They didn't know that while they were running their mouths, I was running miles. While they were judging, I was grinding. While they were laughing, I was learning. I didn't need a stage. I didn't need a crowd. I didn't need a pat on the back. I needed pain. I needed pressure. I needed every ounce of their disrespect to become the weapon I would one day use to slay everything they said I couldn't be. And here's the truth: they didn't stop laughing. They laughed harder when I failed, when I slipped, when I struggled, when I fell on my face. They pointed at me like I was the punchline. They thought I'd give up. They thought I'd pack it in. They thought their laughter was louder than my reason. What they didn't know was that I don't train for applause. I train for war. I don't grind for approval. I grind for legacy. I don't show up for attention. I show up for transformation. And while they were too busy watching me fall, they forgot that every time I hit the ground, I got back up stronger. Every time they mocked me, I went deeper into the pain. Every time they questioned me, I turned the volume down on their voices and the volume up on my discipline. The truth is, the same mouths that laughed will one day quote you. The same people who mocked your beginnings will try to stand next to you when you arrive. But you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to keep score. You don't need revenge. You just need to keep going. Because the moment is coming, the moment when your consistency becomes undeniable, when your growth becomes unmissable, when your results speak louder than any insult ever could. And that moment will hit different. Not because they'll finally respect you, but because by then, you won't even need their respect. See, people only believe in the finished product. They love the success, but they hate the struggle. They love the shine, but they avoid the storm. They want to celebrate you when it's easy, but they disappear when it's dark. That's why you can't build your vision on their validation. That's why you can't stop to explain yourself. You've got to keep building. Keep fighting. Keep becoming. Because when you're focused on your calling, you don't have time to correct the crowd. They laughed because your dream is bigger than their belief. They laughed because they never gave themselves permission to go after something real. They laughed because their fear was louder than your faith, and you've got to stop expecting small minds to understand massive vision. You've got to stop looking for support from people who haven't even supported themselves. Some of the people who doubt you the most gave up on themselves a long time ago. You don't owe them anything, not your time, not your energy, not your explanations. All you owe them is the silence of your grind and the echo of your results. You've got to be so locked in that even their laughter starts to sound like motivation. You've got to turn their mockery into your music. You've got to make their doubt part of your drive. Every "you'll never make it" becomes another brick in the foundation. Every insult becomes a rep. Every cold shoulder becomes a reason to level up, because the day is coming when they will see it. The same people who told you to quit will say they always knew. The same ones who laughed will ask you how you did it. They'll call it overnight success, not knowing you sacrificed everything when no one was watching. They'll say you changed, but you didn't change. You just became who you were always meant to be. And here's what they never tell you. When you win, the laughter doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't echo, because the wind drowns out the noise. The work speaks. The results speak. The life you built in silence becomes too loud to ignore. But the key is you've got to keep going long enough to hear the silence shift. Long enough for the tables to turn. Long enough for the mouths to stop moving because now they're busy watching. You don't need to post about it. You don't need to clap back. Just keep walking. Keep building. Keep becoming, because they laughed at you, but they won't laugh forever. They didn't get it. They didn't understand why you showed up every single day when no one was clapping for you. They didn't see why you kept chasing the dream after failure, after embarrassment, after loss. You see, people think purpose is pretty. They think it's supposed to be smooth, clean, and easy, but purpose is messy, purpose is painful, purpose costs, purpose isolates. That's why most people quit, not because they're weak, but because they never discovered their why. They never found that fire inside of them that refuses to die, even when everything around them is falling apart. You did. That's what makes you different. That's what makes you dangerous. Shame can't stay where purpose lives. You felt the shame. You felt the regret. You felt the sting of failure, the humiliation, the rejection, but you didn't let it stay. You didn't let it define you. You didn't let it become your story. Why? Because there was something greater inside of you, something that whispered to you when you were broken. Something that kept pushing you when you had every reason to give up. That's purpose. Purpose is what showed up when shame tried to lock you in the room. Purpose is what pulled you out of depression. Purpose is what made you get back up when everything in you said stay down. You didn't survive because you were lucky. You survived because your mission wasn't over. You didn't keep going because it was easy. You kept going because something in your spirit refused to be average. They laughed because they thought shame had the final word. They thought that when you failed, it was over. They thought when you fell, you'd stay there, but they didn't know what lived inside of you. They didn't know that you weren't just fighting for success. You were fighting for legacy. You were fighting for your family. You were fighting for your name. You were fighting for every little piece of you that believed there was more. Purpose doesn't care about shame. Purpose isn't intimidated by failure. Purpose doesn't back down in the face of fear. When you walk in purpose, you walk through shame, you walk through fear, you walk through failure, not because you enjoy it, but because you know what's waiting on the other side. You know there's something bigger than the pain. Something stronger than the embarrassment, something deeper than the mistake. Purpose gives you tunnel vision. It helps you stop focusing on what people said and start focusing on what you were born to do. You've got to be bold enough to believe that your past can't cancel your purpose. Bold enough to believe that your scars don't subtract, they qualify you. Bold enough to believe that you can rise with the same hands that used to wipe your tears. Don't run from your shame, transform it. Don't hide your story, use it. That thing you thought disqualified you, that's the same thing that's about to elevate you. Your pain is your platform. Your failure is your foundation. Your story is your strength. You don't need to be perfect, you need to be real. You need to be honest. You need to be unshakable in the face of judgment, because the people who judge you now will one day be inspired by the exact thing they used to criticize. Stop letting shame keep you silent. Stop letting the fear of being exposed keep you from walking into your next level. Purpose doesn't live in perfection, it lives in obedience. Are you willing to keep going even when you're still healing? Are you willing to keep grinding even while people are still laughing? Are you willing to keep building even with a past that people keep throwing in your face? Because that's the test. That's what separates the average from the legendary. The ones who win aren't the ones who never fell. They're the ones who kept going while everyone else kept pointing fingers. They said you were done. They said your story was over. They said shame would eat you alive. But they forgot something. When purpose takes root, shame dies quietly. It doesn't disappear overnight, but it loses power every time you take a step forward. It loses grip every time you speak your truth. It loses control every time you refuse to let your past define your future. Purpose doesn't erase your pain, it redeems it. It turns it into fuel. It turns it into fire. It turns it into something unshakable. And once you start walking in that, once you start owning that there's nothing and no one that can stop you, you don't need to tell them anything. Don't respond. Don't explain. Don't announce. Just win. Let winning be your revenge. Let your actions be the answer. Let your grind speak so loud that the same people who doubted you start choking on their own words. You don't have time to talk back. You don't have time to argue. You don't have time to post clapbacks or throw shade. You've got work to do. You've got a vision to protect. You've got a legacy to build. And the moment you start entertaining the noise, you lose focus on the mission. See, they thought you needed validation. They thought you needed applause. They thought their approval had weight. But you didn't come this far to prove them wrong. You came to prove yourself right. You came to honor the voice inside you that refused to stay quiet, the fire that wouldn't go out. And the truth is, the people who laughed at you, the ones who counted you out, they were just fuel. They were just background noise. They were just motivation dressed as mockery, and instead of reacting to them, you built something they can't ignore. That's the difference between the average and the great. The average respond with words. The great respond with action. The average want to argue, want to flex, want to be seen. The great, they're invisible in the grind and undeniable in the outcome. You've got to be so focused, so locked in, that you don't even notice who's watching anymore. Because you ain't grinding for their attention, you're grinding for your family, you're grinding for your freedom, you're grinding for that version of you that was broken, lost, hurting, and still showed up. Still fought, still believed. They're watching even when they say they're not. They're watching even when they laugh. They're watching even when they pretend you're not doing anything. That's why your win needs to be so loud it shakes their silence. Your discipline, your consistency, your resilience, that's your response. Every early morning, every late night, every sacrifice, that's the revenge. That's the comeback, that's the proof. Because you don't need to yell, "I told you so," when your life says it louder than your mouth ever could. You've got to be ruthless with your focus, cut off distractions, cut off the noise, cut off the need to be understood. You're not here to be liked, you're here to be legendary. You're not here for sympathy, you're here for success. The grind doesn't care about your feelings. The work doesn't pause because people don't believe in you. The mission doesn't wait for approval. It moves with or without applause. And if you really want to win, you've got to move with it no matter who claps, no matter who laughs, no matter who walks away. They doubted you because they couldn't see what you see. They couldn't feel what you feel. They didn't hear what God whispered to you in the dark. That calling wasn't given to them, it was given to you. So why are you waiting on their permission to pursue it? Why are you waiting for people who never had the courage to chase their own dream to validate yours? Stop giving your energy to spectators. Stop explaining yourself to people who have never been in the arena. Stop trying to make them see your worth. Just win. Win so big, so bold, so undeniably that the same ones who ignored you start quoting you. You don't owe anybody an explanation for your grind. You don't need to post every move you make. You don't need to tell the world what you're doing. Just do it. Just build it. Just become it. They'll see it when it's time. They'll hear it when it echoes. They'll feel it when it shifts everything around them. But until then, stay quiet, stay dangerous, stay disciplined, because that's the kind of energy they can't handle, the kind they can't predict, can't copy, can't ignore. This world doesn't reward the loudest, it rewards the most consistent. It rewards the ones who show up whether they're seen or not. It rewards the ones who stay loyal to the vision, even when it gets lonely. It rewards the ones who let their results do the talking. So don't get emotional, get efficient. Don't get distracted, get dangerous. Don't seek revenge through noise, seek it through dominance. Own every room you walk into, not because you talked your way in, but because you worked your way in. Let them doubt, let them dismiss, let them distance themselves. That's not your concern. Your concern is the goal. Your concern is the grind. Your concern is the version of you that only shows up when the excuses shut down. Because that version of you, that's the winner, that's the warrior, that's the force they never saw coming. Let them keep talking, you've got work to finish. Let them keep watching, you've got greatness to walk in. Let them keep laughing, your silence will say more than their opinions ever could. Let winning be your revenge.